$70 million. That's how much Portland startups raised last week, which I thought was an interesting watermark until this week, a company called Isles raised $30 million, putting the grand total, I'll do the math, $100 million in less than a week in VC raised by Portland area startups. What does Isles do? Well, they work on using AI to help retail environments. There's not a lot of detail on the site. They have a little explainer video that kind of takes you through it. But, it was one of those where it's like, wow, maybe some momentum's picking up. Maybe some stuff's starting to happen. So last week, it was Boulder Care and Hydraulics. This week, Isles, $100 million raised by Portland startups. Speaking of raising capital, our friends at TIE Oregon have their Multnomah County, Clark County pitch event coming up next week. The Columbia River pitch event. So they did the Washington County one, which is the West Side pitch competition. Now they're doing the Columbia River one, which is Multnomah County and Clark County. Clark County is in Washington, across the river, giving startups the opportunity to pitch, win cash prizes, and really just highlight what's going on here in the startup community. And of course, you're like, wait, Washington County, Multnomah, Clark County, aren't we missing out? Yes, Clackamas County will get their chance as well. This is a whole new thing that TIE Oregon is doing to give startups all around the region the chance to compete for capital. But who is getting to compete, you might ask? Well, I just got the list. I haven't even had time to write it up on the blog yet. So you are getting kind of a podcast exclusive. Aren't you lucky? The answer is yes. Yes, you are lucky because you showed up and you're willing to sit through this to learn more about what's going on in the Portland startup community. So let's get to the companies that are pitching. I'm going to read them off so I don't screw anything up. There are two different categories in this competition. There's a pre-seed and then a seed. For the pre-seed category, it's ESG Brands out of Multnomah County, Goddess Moose out of Multnomah County, Henna out of Multnomah County, and Oily out of Clark County. In the seed category, our friend Jack Fan likely will be pitching AirDeck AI. They're out of Clark County. There's a company called Novuson out of King County, which is Seattle. And there's a company called Sip Herbals out of Multnomah County. So pre-seed, seed, competition, prize money. Can't wait to see who walks away with the wins in those categories. And as always, if you're interested in how pitch competitions are run, if you're in Clackamas County and you're like, gee, I wonder what TIE Oregon is going to do for our pitch competition, maybe attend the Columbia River pitch competition, head on over to the north side of the Columbia in Vancouver there and just see how that pitch competition goes. That competition happens Thursday, June 6th. Again, I will report the winners as soon as I know. As soon as I know, you will know. Kind of. I mean, I will know slightly sooner than you will, but I'll let you know as soon as I can. Cool? Cool. 400 subscribers can't be wrong. Well, I mean, statistically, it's possible that they're wrong. But why not join those 400 kind folks who've managed to subscribe to this channel? And then I'll send you startup news every single week without fail. Please subscribe. Okay? Cool. Thank you. Have you heard of Demolicious? It's the event that kind of started as show and tell for the Portland startup community. And now it's grown into this very competitive event where each month companies pitch against one another and against a defending champion. Now, the trick there is if the defending champion has a better pitch, none of the contenders get a chance to take away the Demolicious championship belt. However, every contender has the opportunity to do that. Why do you care? Well, one, maybe you just like watching startups pitch, or maybe you like being in the community and hanging out with people in the community. That's a good reason to care. Another good reason to care is if you have a startup or an interesting product or project that you would like to pitch at Demolicious, I believe they still have room for June. So not only could you get to go to Demolicious, but you might be able to walk away with a photo of you with the championship belt. So if that's of interest to you, please check out Demolicious. They have an application form. It's nothing too strenuous. Just sign up and maybe you get to be on stage in June telling people about the cool stuff that you're building. I can't continually do the speaking of people building cool stuff like my segues are speaking of. So I won't even bore you with that. But I wanted to remind you that if you're building a consumer products company, so food, beverage, footwear, apparel, outdoor, physical objects that you sell to a consumer, could be CPG, could be something else. Built Oregon, their mentorship program applications close next week. I believe it's June 5th, which is a Wednesday. So if you're in that space, you've kind of got something going, but you feel like you could really use some more mentorship to take your company to the next level, maybe take a look at the Built Oregon Accelerator to get you that mentorship and, just to get you the chance to hang out with a bunch of other cool companies and cool founders who are all trying to do the same thing. I'm a huge fan of that peer-to-peer mentorship. Like, I always love expert mentorship, and I love the mentors who volunteer their time to share their expertise. But there's nothing like that kind of collegial collaboration among startup founders and how they help one another. So if you're in the consumer space and that sounds like something valuable to you, please consider applying for the Built Oregon Accelerator to get the mentorship and guidance you need and can use. Dave Hersh, you've heard me talk about him before. He was the founding CEO of Jive, which was a company that relocated to Portland very early in its life and managed to stay here, build a huge presence, hire a lot of amazing people. Eventually, they wound up relocating their headquarters in preparation for an IPO, but the bulk of the folks were here. So kind of like Intel, the bulk of the folks are here. And Jive went through that IPO, which is really makes them one of the few companies in the community to kind of go through that entire cycle. Dave was CEO for a long time there. After that, he spent some time at Andreessen Horowitz and then started kind of doing this thing about picking up companies that, kind of distressed assets or companies that might be stuck or might need help. Started working with them or investing in them or acquiring them and starting to make those companies kind of turn a corner. Well, he's written a whole book about that called Reignition. One moment. Called Reignition. Reignition. He's written a book about that called Reignition. And now he's kind of on a pseudo book tour of sorts. Dave will be here in Portland June 10th in an event hosted by Portland Seed Fund and Co-working Space Kiln. I believe that's a Monday. And space is limited, and I know the tickets were going fast, but I wanted to let you know about it. And even if you can't attend, I might try and figure out a way to grab some time with Dave and just chat with him, whether it's while he's here or maybe we'll just jump online and have a call and have a conversation, because I would really love to have you hear more from Dave. He's been, really instrumental in the Portland startup community. He's been a great advisor and mentor when I've asked him questions or sought guidance. And I just think he's a really incredibly valuable asset that our community is lucky to have access to. So please try and attend the event. But if you can't do that, I will do my best to grab some time with Dave and share some of his thoughts, but also pick up the book. Did I say buy the book? He's on a book tour, so they should get the book. I mean, he's giving away books, I think, at the event. But if you can't attend the event, buy the book or listen to it. Word has it, Dave narrates the book himself, so you'll get to listen to his dulcet tones take you through the manuscript that he's written. So Reignition, try and go to the event at the very least. Buy the book or listen to the book. So pre-pandemic, I don't even know. how far before? 2015, 2016? Gosh, almost 10 years ago, maybe at this point. Uh, I had been talking to a few folks and they're like, we don't feel like Twitter is kind of like providing the community. It's gotten too big. It's not providing the community kind of dynamic it used to provide for the Portland startup community. I wish we had somewhere else where Portland startup folks could just hang out with one another and Portland tech folks could communicate things to one another. And at that time, there was a little company called Slack that had developed a kind of chat environment where people could do that kind of thing. And so I was like, oh, I don't know, what if we start up a Portland Startup Slack? And Raven Zachary back then had said, I think there's an opportunity with potentially starting up a Slack for the community. So I was like, all right, let's try it. And now here we are, almost 10 years later, still going strong, people joining every day. Not only people here in Portland, but people who are Portland curious, people who are thinking about relocating here, people who work with people in Portland but live elsewhere. So just a great community dynamic. I haven't looked at the latest membership numbers, but it's like around 6,800 members. They're not all active, trust me, but around 6,800, profiles on the Slack instance. But here's the number I am paying attention to. Apparently, on that Slack instance, we have now shared more than 1 million messages back and forth as a community. And I think that's a milestone to celebrate. All these people chatting with one another, giving each other advice, sharing stuff about their products, telling people about events. More than 1 million messages on the Portland Startup Slack. I had no idea it would get that big. But it can still get bigger. If you'd like to come hang out with us, chat, get connected with people, join the Portland Startup Slack. We would love to have you. I'll link up a video that provides more details on the Portland Startup Slack, but the fact of the matter is it's just pdxslack.com. Go there, it'll let you in. Again, if you think you want to spam the channel or do that kind of stuff, that doesn't work. It doesn't work very long, at least. Like, people are pretty aggressive with swinging the band hammer, so don't get fancy with your spammy Slackness. But please, if you would like to connect with folks in the Portland startup community and sometimes in real life during the social beer gathering that the Portland Slack folks put on, please join us over on Portland Startup Slack. It would be great to have you. And here's looking toward our next 1 million messages on that platform. This is the last Friday of the month, which means, what does that mean? Yes, that means next Friday is the first Friday. What happens on first Friday? Come on, you should know this by now. I'm happy to remind you every week, but you should know by now that on first Fridays, Upstart Collective holds their first Friday gathering, which is really a happy hour for the Portland startup community to gather in person at Upstart Collective. What you may not know is which Upstart Collective that first Friday will be hosted at. And that is because there are two Upstart Collectives. There's a West Side and there's an East Side. Well, first Friday, this coming June 7th, will be held at the East Side Upstart Collective, which is nice because they have like balconies and verandas and things where you can be outside if the weather is nice. So if you'd like to gather with folks from the Portland Startup community, please show up to Upstart Collective Friday, the first Friday of June, and get to meet some people. It'll be fun. You'll be glad you did it. Trust me. And then also, if you're like, happy hour is not really my thing, I'm busy, I have family, when I'm done with work, I want to be done with work, that's cool. There's also Founder Coffee, which happens on Tuesday, which would be June 4th. I'm so bad with dates on this episode. I didn't write down the dates. I'm just trying to remember them, and I'm old. Give me a break. So the Founder Coffee happens in the morning. And again, instead of associating over a depressant, you get to associate over a stimulant and network and talk to people and be all hyped up because you're all jacked up on the caffeine. So if you would like to attend that, I believe it's being held at Push Pull on Southeast Stark this time around. Should be a good crowd. There's also some tables outside at that location. But highly encourage you, if you're a founder of a product-based company, no service providers, if you have clientele, if you charge by the hour, if you're an agency, whatever, like not that type of founder, more founders working on product-based businesses. But if you are that type of founder, I encourage you to show up to Founder Coffee, meet some more people in the community. Look at all these opportunities to meet people. Look at all this community building and development, and you have access to all of it for free. I mean, some of these things cost money, but like Founder Coffee, First Friday, those are both free. Demolicious, that's free. I think the Columbia River pitch competition costs something, but it's not expensive. Like you can make it happen. You can make it happen. So take care of yourself. Don't just sit in front of your computer. Like spend some time outside. Go for a walk. Take care of yourself. Please. I would really appreciate that for both you and me. Okay. Again, hope you're doing well. Hang in there. Till we get the chance to chat again, please keep up the good work. What's that? That wasn't enough news for you? Well, what a coincidence. I've got more news right here.